cognitive interfaces.
Success. The dark side of the light we pursue. Success, like happiness, cannot be pursued, it must ensue, and it only does so as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself. Viktor Frankl. Success is being here and now. One can only know success if we accept its dark side. Every crisis is an opportunity. We have to accept the emotions that any crisis awakens in us, accept them, embrace them, make them conscious. That is accepting the dark side of success. Then success arrives. Success is the capacity to go from failure to failure without surrendering to frustration, when in reality, frustration is the path toward success, only if it is made conscious. Make your failures a success. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is moving forward with fear. Every time we feel fear, we should not think, I am afraid, but rather, I have courage. The trap of brightness. We live in an era where success has become the new altar. Social media bombards us with images of resplendent achievements, perfect bodies, bulging bank accounts, exotic travels. A multi-billion-dollar industry sells us the promise that we can be everything we want to be, that nothing is impossible, that we only need to believe in ourselves enough to materialize our dreams. But there is something profoundly toxic hidden in this luminous narrative. By promising us that happiness and success are simply a matter of attitude, of positive affirmations repeated every morning in front of the mirror, we are being sold a lie disguised as empowerment. A lie that, paradoxically, is making us sick. The personal development industry moves astronomical figures every year. Books, seminars, online courses, coaches, gurus, all promising the same thing. The secret to success, the 7 habits, the 10 keys, the infallible method. But if these methods worked as well as they promise, why does the industry keep growing? Why do we constantly need more books, more courses, more revealed secrets? The uncomfortable answer is that much of this industry is not designed to cure us, but to keep us hooked. The business model depends on our perpetual dissatisfaction. A client who truly healed and found peace would stop buying. That's why the content is designed to give us temporary peaks of motivation, that dose of dopamine we feel when finishing an inspiring book, without offering deep tools for real transformation. The silent epidemic. Researchers of the contemporary psyche have documented something alarming. In recent decades, narcissism has increased epidemically. We are not talking about narcissism as a colloquial insult, but as a measurable psychological pattern, an inflated view of the self, constant need for admiration, lack of empathy, sense of special entitlement. Research shows that approximately 1 in 10 young people presents clinical levels of narcissistic personality disorder, and the numbers keep growing. The culture of love yourself, of you are special, of you deserve everything you desire, has had unforeseen consequences. In the attempt to build self-esteem, we have built ego inflation. In the attempt to empower, we have fed delusions of grandeur. The problem is not self-esteem itself. We need a healthy relationship with ourselves to function. The problem is that we have confused self-esteem with self-promotion. We have replaced genuine internal work with empty affirmations. We have substituted the humility that allows learning with an arrogance that closes the doors of growth. Toxic positivity. That insistence that we must be positive all the time, that negative emotions are errors to correct, is one of the clearest symptoms of this cultural disease. When someone is going through grief and they are told, focus on the positive memories, when someone suffers anxiety and is advised to just relax and trust the process, what we are doing is invalidating their human experience. We are telling them that their emotions are incorrect, that they should feel ashamed of feeling what they feel. The achievement subject. A contemporary philosopher has articulated with surgical precision what is occurring. We no longer live in a disciplinary society, one where power controlled us from outside, telling us what we could not do. We have transitioned to an achievement society where the imperative is no longer you must not, but you can. The motto, yes we can, perfectly summarizes this transformation. It sounds liberating, it sounds empowering, but it hides a mortal trap. If everything is possible, if there are no external limits, then any failure is entirely your fault. There is no unjust system to blame, no structural obstacles to point to. If you didn't achieve your dream, it's because you didn't believe enough, didn't work enough, didn't want it enough. Thus, the exploited worker becomes a self-exploiter. We no longer need a boss to pressure us. We pressure ourselves, voluntarily, believing we are exercising our freedom, when in reality, we are being more efficiently exploited than ever. The sensation of freedom accompanies self-exploitation, which makes it much more insidious than any form of external oppression. The predictable result: an epidemic of burnout, depression, anxiety. The achievement society does not produce madmen and criminals like the old disciplinary society. It produces depressives and failures. The depressive's complaint, "nothing is possible," can only emerge in a society that thinks nothing is impossible. When success is supposedly within everyone's reach and you don't reach it, only one conclusion remains: you are defective. The shadow we don't want to see. Depth psychology understood a century ago what personal development culture has systematically forgotten. There is no light without shadow. Everything we reject about ourselves doesn't disappear. It sinks into the unconscious, where it continues operating with more force precisely because we cannot see it. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, wrote a great explorer of the soul. However, this procedure is disagreeable and therefore not popular. And there lies the problem. The success industry sells the agreeable and popular. It sells light, positivity, high vibes. It doesn't sell confrontation with one's own darkness because that hurts, and what hurts doesn't sell. But rejected pain doesn't vanish. It becomes neurosis. It projects onto others. It somatizes in the body. The repressed emotion, the unprocessed failure, the unfaced fear, all of that builds internal pressure that eventually explodes in forms we cannot control. A deep analyst used to ask his friends, "Have you had any terrible successes lately?" Because he knew that every success has its shadow, every achievement has a cost. Every time we say yes to something, we are saying no to other things. And those accumulated no's form a darkness that, if not recognized, can poison the very success we celebrate. The existential void. A psychiatrist who survived the horrors of Nazi concentration camps observed something that forever changed our understanding of the human psyche. The prisoners who survived were not necessarily the physically strongest, but those who had found meaning in the midst of suffering. From that observation emerged a fundamental truth. The human being is not motivated primarily by pleasure, as one school thought, nor by power, as another thought, but by the search for meaning. When that meaning is lacking, what he called existential vacuum appears. That sensation that life lacks purpose, that everything is the same, that nothing matters. And here is the cruel irony of our era. We have more comfort, more entertainment, more options than any previous generation, and yet rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide continue rising. Because we have confused success with significance. We have pursued external achievements thinking they would fill us internally, and we discovered, late and painfully, that the void persists even if we accumulate all the badges of success. Despair is suffering without meaning, wrote that wise psychiatrist. And much of what we call modern depression is exactly that, suffering without meaning. We don't suffer for something, we simply suffer, and that seems absurd to us because we are supposed to be happy, successful, positive. Success as side effect. Here comes the most important paradox of this chapter. Success cannot be pursued directly. The more you seek it, the further it will flee. It's like happiness. The more desperately you pursue it, the less you find it. Genuine success, not the narcissistic mirage the industry sells, but the achievement that fills with true satisfaction, only emerges as a side effect of something deeper. Dedication to a cause greater than oneself, love for another person, conscious acceptance of inevitable suffering. Think about it. The most admired people in history rarely sought fame or recognition. They sought justice, knowledge, beauty, truth. Success came to them as a consequence of their dedication, not as an objective. They were so absorbed in their cause that success found them, not the other way around. This completely inverts the logic of mainstream personal development. It's not about visualizing success, feeling already successful, affirming your greatness every morning. It's about finding something that matters to you more than your own success and dedicating yourself to it with all your energy. Success, if it comes, will come on its own. And if it doesn't come, you will have lived a life with meaning, which is infinitely more valuable than a successful but empty life. Failure as teacher. Success culture is terrified of failure. It treats it as something shameful, something that must be hidden, something that indicates you're not good enough. But this perspective is profoundly distorted and ultimately self-destructive. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is an integral part of the path toward it. Every person who has achieved something significant has a collection of failures that preceded their achievement. Scientists whose theories revolutionized the world spent years in dead ends. Artists whose works move us filled wastebaskets with failed attempts. Entrepreneurs whose businesses prosper have cemeteries of projects that died before being born. The problem is not failing. The problem is how we relate to failure. If we see it as evidence of our unworthiness, it will crush us. If we see it as valuable information about what doesn't work, it will educate us. If we see it as an opportunity to develop resilience, it will strengthen us. Success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm, has been famously said. But I would go further. Success is the ability to make each failure conscious, to extract its teaching, to allow it to transform us. It's not about ignoring frustration with forced positivity. It's about traversing it consciously, inhabiting it for the time necessary for it to reveal its hidden gift. The alchemy of suffering. Every crisis is an opportunity. Ancient wisdom knows this, but not in the superficial way that commercial personal development presents it. It's not about thinking positive in the face of tragedy, smiling while our world collapses, pretending everything is fine when it clearly isn't. The true transformation of suffering requires first accepting it completely, feeling the pain without fleeing from it, allowing fear, sadness, rage, despair to traverse our being without repressing them or acting them out destructively. This is the work the success industry avoids because it isn't glamorous, doesn't photograph well for Instagram, doesn't generate likes. When we allow negative emotions to be what they are, without judging or rejecting them, something mysterious occurs. They transform. They don't magically disappear, but they stop controlling us. We can have them without them having us. And in that space of expanded consciousness, something new emerges. Understanding, compassion, wisdom gained through fire. Medieval alchemists spoke of the nigredo, the phase of darkening necessary for all genuine transformation. Before the gold comes the deepest black. Before rebirth comes death. Trying to skip this phase, pretending we can go directly from lead to gold with positive affirmations, is misunderstanding the very nature of deep change. The courage to feel fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. This truth, though repeated 1,000 times, continues to be not deeply understood. We continue believing, at some level, that brave people don't feel fear, that successful people are free of doubts, that the enlightened don't experience darkness. But real courage consists precisely in advancing with fear, not despite fear, as if it were an obstacle to overcome, but with fear, recognizing it as a legitimate traveling companion. Fear gives us valuable information. It signals that we are at the edge of the known, that something important is at stake, that our organism is preparing for a challenge. The practice I propose is this. Every time you feel fear, don't think, "I am afraid," as if it were a deficiency to correct. Think, "I have courage," because the simple fact of being there, facing what scares you, is already an act of bravery. Fear and courage are not opposites. They are two sides of the same coin. You cannot have one without the other. This reinterpretation is not self-deception nor toxic positivity. It is a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. Animals feel fear and flee or attack. Humans have the unique capacity to feel fear and choose how to respond. That capacity for choice, exercised consciously in the presence of fear, is the very essence of courage. The success of the present. Success is being here and now. This affirmation sounds simple, almost banal, but it hides a complete revolution in our understanding of achievement. Success culture has us perpetually oriented toward the future. We will be successful when we reach such goal, when we have such amount of money, when we achieve such recognition. But that future never really arrives. When we reach the goal, there's already another one ahead. When we get the money, we discover we need more. When we receive recognition, we notice that others have more. This endless race is the perfect mechanism for permanent dissatisfaction. It is also the machine that feeds the personal development industry. As long as you keep believing that success is out there ahead, you will keep buying products that promise to take you there. The day you discover that success can be right here, right now, you will stop being a good consumer. Being here and now doesn't mean settling mediocrely or abandoning all ambition. It means recognizing that this moment, with all it has and all it lacks, is your real life, not a rehearsal for when you really live it. It means you can pursue future goals without your well-being depending on reaching them. It means the journey can be as satisfying as the destination if you choose to live it consciously. Interfaces of authentic achievement. In the framework of cognitive interfaces that structures this book, we can understand success and failure as perceptual filters that color our entire experience. Society installs in us certain interfaces that define what counts as success and what is failure, what deserves celebration and what shame. These cultural interfaces are extraordinarily powerful because they operate unconsciously. We don't choose to believe we need a certain level of income to be successful. We absorb it from the environment like the air we breathe. We don't consciously decide that failure is shameful. That equation is engraved in us from childhood, in every look of disappointment, in every comparison with others who are doing better. But cognitive interfaces, however entrenched they may be, can be consciously modified. We can choose different filters to evaluate our life. We can redefine success in our own terms, not as accumulation of external achievements, but as depth of lived experience, as genuine connection with others, as contribution to something greater than ourselves, as inner peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. This redefinition is not escapism or renunciation. It is, paradoxically, the most direct path towards significant external achievements. Because when we stop pursuing success desperately, when we find satisfaction in the process itself, we free the energy that was trapped in anxiety about the result. And that freed energy can flow toward creation, contribution, genuine impact. The integration of opposites. We have traveled a path that began by questioning success culture and ends by proposing a completely different relationship with it. It's not about rejecting success by considering it superficial, nor pursuing it blindly as the mainstream teaches us. It's about integrating it into a broader understanding of what it means to live a full life. This integration requires embracing the opposites that commercial culture wants to keep separate: success and failure as complementary teachers, light and shadow as inseparable aspects of totality, ambition and acceptance as forces that mutually balance each other, action and contemplation as necessary rhythms of a meaningful life. Depth psychology called individuation this process of integrating opposites. It's not about eliminating the shadow or rejecting the light. It's about recognizing that we are both things, that totality includes contradictions, that maturity consists in being able to sustain the tension between opposing forces without collapsing toward either extreme. True success from this perspective is not reaching certain external goals. It is the capacity to maintain psychic integrity while we navigate the inevitable ups and downs of existence. It is the ability to celebrate without inflating ourselves and to fail without destroying ourselves. It is the wisdom of knowing that this moment, with its unique mix of achievements and lacks, of lights and shadows, is exactly where we must be to continue evolving. Conscious success. Let us end with a practical synthesis. What does a healthy relationship with success look like? First, recognize that the success you pursue may not really be yours. It may be cultural programming, an inherited expectation, a comparison with others who don't even matter to you. Before investing years of your life pursuing something, ask yourself, Does this genuinely fulfill me, or would it only calm my fear of not being enough? Second, make peace with failure. Not as something that defines you, but as information about your path. Each failure, consciously processed, brings you closer to yourself. Each crisis, traversed without fleeing from it, strengthens capacities you didn't know you had. Make your failures a success by learning from them everything they have to teach. Third, cultivate presence. The deepest success is being able to be completely where you are, doing what you're doing, without your mind constantly escaping toward an idealized future or a lamented past. This presence is not a final state to reach. It is a daily practice, a constant return to the here and now, every time you notice you have gotten lost in fantasies of success or nightmares of failure. Fourth, find a cause greater than yourself. Life's meaning doesn't come from accumulating personal achievements. It comes from contributing to something that transcends you. It can be your family, your community, an ideal, an art, a discipline. Whatever takes you out of the ego's prison and connects you with something greater. There, in that connection, success stops being an obsession and becomes a natural side effect of a well-lived life. And fifth, reclaim courage. Not as absence of fear, but as the decision to move forward with fear. Every time you feel the impulse to flee from something difficult, remember, the simple fact of being there, facing it, is already a success. You don't need to win to be brave. You only need to not surrender before the first, nor before the 10th, wave of frustration. Because in the end, conscious frustration is the path toward genuine success. Not despite pain, but through it. Not avoiding shadow, but integrating it. Not pursuing brightness, but radiating it from a center that has learned to embrace its own darkness.